الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله.
It is truly shameful. Islam teaches us that cleanliness is half of our faith, yet you perform your animal sacrifice and then turn the entire city into a massive pile of disgusting filth. In this way, you are simply wasting and ruining your own spiritual reward. I will record a separate message on this topic, God willing, just as I did last year. Look, whenever you keep your own animals, you must strictly ensure cleanliness at all times. I shared my own story with you just for motivation. For instance, I brought a camel home 2 years ago. At that time, I specifically instructed the cleaners and those in charge that after just half an hour had passed, I should not see even a single drop of blood anywhere on the ground or even the smallest trace. Neither a piece of meat nor even a trace of animal dung should be visible. Pay the cleaner a little extra money and he will make it perfectly clean and shining. When you can buy such incredibly expensive animals, can you not spend just a few hundred or thousand rupees on the cleaning process? Do it yourself or hire a professional cleaner, but it shouldn't even look like an animal was ever slaughtered there on the street for everyone to actually see. Look, the Prophet PBUH said that there are over 70 branches of faith. The lowest degree of faith is to simply remove a harmful or painful object from the path for other people's ease. This means if someone does not remove a harmful thing from the path, they are not even at the lowest level of faith. This is the case when you see a harmful thing and do not remove it yourself. And if a harmful thing is not removed at all from the way, then true faith is simply not fully present in that specific place or person. You bring a sacrificial animal home and dump the filth right there on the street where blood rots and stinks, causing people great distress as they pass. What kind of sacrifice is this, brother? Since you have completely neglected the lower part of faith while holding on to the major ritual, do not waste the reward of your sacrifice by leaving its waste out in the open and its filth. Dispose of it now instead of waiting until the third day to do it. Once the animal is slaughtered and meat is shared, any mess in the street requires you to either work yourself or spend money, yet people often become incredibly stingy with their funds in that moment. Brother, you bought such an expensive animal and were clearly wealthy, which is why the sacrifice became mandatory. Think of all the money spent on feeding it. Can't you spend a few thousand rupees on the cleaning? Hire the sweepers, pay them extra and tell them to make it spotless in half an hour. I have personally seen this work when you pay them well and they will make it look like a crystal palace. They do an excellent job that way. If you give money very stingily, they will cut corners. This way they also earn a living, so everyone must take responsibility for their own streets and neighborhoods, keeping them clean. Do not ruin the spiritual reward of your sacrifice by causing distress to other people. You must not do that. Regarding including someone with forbidden income in a shared cow sacrifice, specifically those about whom you already happen to know beforehand and are certain of that their entire income is illicit. I say entirely because some people have mixed earnings, both lawful and unlawful. In those cases, it must be evaluated. If the majority is lawful, we will consider it lawful, assuming it is given from clean earnings. If mostly illicit, we assume it is illicit. But if you do not know, then it is deemed permissible. Since we are not allowed to harbor any suspicion against others, but if you find out for certain that a specific person's source of income is mostly forbidden and their illicit earnings are significantly high and problematic, then you should tell him directly, brother, perform the sacrifice with your lawful money. If he has set aside lawful money and provides that, then you should simply believe his word and trust his statement. We do not know the heart's conditions. But until he provides such clarification, it is not permissible for you to include him in the sacrifice. If someone works in a department related to interest in an interest-based bank, or if they work in an insurance company directly involved in its core operations, as there are also doctors employed in such insurance companies for other specific tasks, whom they have hired as professionals, and their income is considered lawful. I am talking about the core structure of the insurance company, without which the company itself simply cannot function or actually operate. If someone is in such a sector, then their income is also forbidden. If someone is a manager in an interest-based bank or records interest-based transactions, if their job involves documentation or opening accounts by persuading people to join, then such a person's income is forbidden. Or if someone has a liquor business or any similar forbidden trade, then if you include someone with forbidden income in the sacrifice shares, no one's sacrifice will be valid, and the meat from that animal will also become forbidden for every person to consume. Consuming the meat will not be permissible either, therefore caution is essential in this matter. However, if one is unaware, then there is no need for excessive investigation. There is no need for this if someone has said themselves that, look, I earn halal and I am not linked to those sectors, or I work in an interest-based bank but have kept separate money for sacrifice. So just trusting their spoken word is sufficient for you. There is no need to go into any deeper details or investigate the matter further. Are there 7 shares or 10 shares in a camel sacrifice? Actually, there are only 7 shares in a camel sacrifice according to the established rules. The hadith about 10 shares relates to the spoils of war. Regarding those performing sacrifice with someone who commits polytheism or has such beliefs, what is the specific rule? What is the ruling? If someone's belief is explicitly polytheistic, clearly viewing the Prophet PBUH without any interpretation as the absolute remover and solver of things, of difficulties and fulfiller of needs, or if someone believes he possessed total knowledge of the unseen, meaning they believe the Prophet PBUH was entirely and fully the knower of unseen, the knower of the unseen, knowing what was and what will be, and nothing was hidden from his knowledge. This is absolute knowledge, or that Allah has granted him such immense divine power and authority, granted him such authority that he can help us whenever and wherever he wishes, or that a certain saint can help us, or if someone denies the finality of prophethood, like the Qadianis. If someone clearly holds such blasphemous beliefs and you decide to include their share within your animal sacrifice, then it creates a serious problem for every person. In your animal, then neither his sacrifice nor anyone else's sacrifice will count. Everyone's sacrifice will be void and invalid. It is also essential for the slaughterer. Understand this very well, whether it is a sacrificial animal or just a regular animal for food. If a polytheist slaughters it, someone who clearly believes the Prophet knows the unseen or solves troubles as I have just explained, then even if they slaughter it in the name of God, that animal is forbidden and its meat is not lawful for anyone to eat, though simply being an innovator doesn't really matter. Meaning, if someone is an innovator but their core belief is not actually polytheistic, then if they have a share in a cow sacrifice, the entire sacrifice will still be considered valid. And if they perform the slaughter, the sacrifice will still be valid. But a polytheist or a denier of the finality of prophethood or any other fundamental Islamic belief, if someone has them slaughter it for them, then too the animal they have slaughtered is considered forbidden, and if they are included as a partner in the sacrifice shares, the sacrifice of all the participants involved will be completely ruined and also invalid. As I said, it is absolutely necessary for the slaughterer to be a monotheist. However, Allah has specifically made an exception and has already accepted Christians and Jews from this rule, so their slaughter is lawful for us to eat. Yet it is certain that if the person performing the slaughter is a Muslim and they intentionally and does not recite Bismillah Allahu Akbar or mention Allah's name, then the animal becomes forbidden, because we have seen sometimes butchers are slaughtering animals and in their mouths and they are not reciting the takbir. If someone simply forgets to say the words Bismillah Allahu Akbar, if someone forgets to say it, the animal is halal. A hadith says that Allah's name is always present in every Muslim's heart, even if they don't say it. If Allah's name is missed by mistake, at such a time the animal is moving and you fear it might escape. You focus all your attention on the slaughter itself rather than on reciting the words. If you forget to recite Bismillah Allahu Akbar, it is missed by accident and the animal is halal. But if omitted intentionally, despite people giving you reminders, sometimes the butcher still won't speak and not a single word comes out of his mouth. Brother, say something. That is exactly why it should be said aloud and very clearly by the person doing it, so that any doubt in people's hearts is removed. But if someone intentionally avoids saying it despite being able to, the slaughtered animal then becomes haram for everyone to consume.